Happy Saturday and welcome to Ramashram Satsang Weekend Workshop, where you will learn a modern satsang method for obtaining peace, light, and love in your life. My name is Shivangi, and I will be introducing the facilitator for today's event. But first, I'd like to give you a brief overview to this satsang session. If you will direct your attention to the screen, you will see that the first element is satsang. Satsang is a scientific method whereby we may obtain peace, light, and love in our lives. It requires no physical skill, spiritual accomplishment, or meditation experience to begin this practice. Satsang consists of two words, Sat and Sang. Sat means positive energy, and Sang means to be with or to be in the presence of. Therefore, the word satsang means to be in the presence of positive energy. The next element is meditation. Meditation is an important part of satsang. When we meditate, our consciousness is drawn from worldly objects and directed inward to focus on a single thought. In doing so, our minds become calm and our thoughts become pure, leading us to higher states of consciousness such as enlightenment, peace, light, and love. Inner orientation. There are two types of satsang, inner satsang and outer satsang. An example of outer satsang would be chanting or attending pilgrimages. When we practice outer satsang, we have the potential to change our behavior, but only through the practice of inner satsang can we obtain higher states of consciousness such as enlightenment, peace, light, and love. This is the type of satsang we will learn today, where we meditate in silence. Group sessions. These weekend workshops are structured for group participation. When we meditate as a group, our focus is improved and our personal progress along our spiritual path is expedited. By regularly attending these weekend workshops, the benefits of group participation are amplified. Joy and inner happiness. All beings wish to experience joy. Joy is the eternal longing of the soul, but only through the practice of inner satsang can we obtain a joyous state. Each time we practice satsang, our inner happiness gradually increases, ultimately culminating in a state of joy that we experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Next, the agenda of today's session consists of three parts: the informative session, the practice session, and the interactive session. Juan, could we move to the next slide, please? During the informative session, a lecture will be given about a satsang topic, the founder, or some relevant spiritual topic. During the practice session, instruction on how to meditate will be given, followed by a period of practice. During the interactive session, you will have the opportunity to ask questions, or there will be a panel discussion. Next, I would like to provide some background to the Ramashram Satsang method. In 1930, our Guru Maharaj, Param Sant Dr. Chaturbhuj Sahayaji, established Ramashram Satsang Mathura, naming it after his guru, Lalaji Maharaj, Param Sant Sri Ramchandra Ji, out of the northern Indian part of Mathura. As per the directive of his guru, he propagated a system of meditation that is adaptable by people of any religion, community, or race. This system is specially suited for our busy and demanding lives in today's world. If we shape our lifestyles and mold our thought processes according to it, spiritual success can be achieved effortlessly. We can learn to live in a peaceful life amidst the stress. Our system of sadhana or satsang is a unique unification of karma, which is duty, upasana, which is devotion, and gyan, which is knowledge. The core of this unification is achieved through dhyan, which is meditation, every morning and evening for 15 to 20 minutes. Soon after the establishment of the satsang, the need for a monthly journal and literature was felt. Hence, the publication of Hindi monthly journal Sadhan began in August of 1933. In addition, Sri Guru Maharaj started to work on satsang literature. His numerous books, including a 7-volume book on his own spiritual experiences, have been have helped spiritual aspirants for decades. Now, I'd like to introduce the facilitator for today's event. He has over 40 years of satsang experience. He is the grandson of our Guru Maharaj, who is the founder of Ramashram Satsang. He was born into a satsang family where he witnessed his family members obtaining states of enlightenment, live lives of peace, light, and love. At an early age, he began traveling with a mission throughout India facilitating satsangs. During that time, he witnessed the positive effects that satsang could have on mankind. Upon arriving in the United States, both he and his wife continued to facilitate satsang for local satsangis. He has led teams of satsang members in translating important satsang literature into English and has worked tirelessly to make satsang more accessible to Western and English speaking audiences. He currently travels throughout the United States, India, and England, facilitating satsangs while maintaining his duties as a husband, a father, and an IT executive. Today, he will teach us a rare and ancient form of satsang as taught by our Guru Maharaj. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sanjeev Kumarji.
So happy Saturday, everyone. Glad that we are here in satsang. So I was, so before we practice, which is the core of the session anyway, I wanted to just have some brief stories, which I have been hearing, through these sessions, which were originally in Hindi, and while I was still in India, and even these days, stories are core part of the discourses that happen before and after the practice, just to get us a little more, get better nuances and what the practice is about, how it's different from what we usually do, etc. So actually, one of the Zen stories that I was reading lately, so it started with a professor went to a Zen master, and so he wanted to understand the Zen practices and concepts, and so the Zen master asks him to sit down and then pours some tea. So the cup it was empty, and he started pouring the tea, and then it filled up, and he kept pouring. So for a little bit, the professor was watching, and then he couldn't help, and when he asked, he said, like, I just wanted to demonstrate that, if the cup is already full, you will not be able to receive more knowledge. So if you want to really learn, you got to have an empty cup. I had, heard about some of the variations of this story earlier. One of them was, so Buddha had asked some of his disciples to get alms and eat what they get. So he himself used to go out, and so one of the folks who he used to visit to get anything that he gets from that household, the person would ask him, like, I really want to get to know more of what your teachings are. So he visited Buddha again and again. So one day he said, like, okay, I'll come to your house, and we'll talk more about it. And so he came and he brought out you know, a bowl which was almost filled with filth. And he said, like, I want some pure milk. And so he, the person brought the milk, but he looked at the, bowl and said, like, do you really want me to pour this milk into this dirty bowl? And and then Buddha said that that's what you have been asking. If you want to receive the pure, uh, energy, knowledge, whatever you call it, you need to cleanse um, your receiver, your heart, before you can receive, uh, you know, this knowledge. Another variation where this one my father used to talk about, where there was a sage living in the Himalayas. Somebody came to him and wanted to learn from him, and so the sage was like, okay, you come again. And he kept coming and coming. So one day he said, okay, here is this it was a bowl made of uh, wick, so it was kind of porous, and but it was kind of dirty. And he gave him that, I have some plants in front of the hut that I live in. Can you bring the water from the river? And so this person was like, so first it was so dirty, and the other thing was it was porous. So he would take the water into it, and by the time he came back to the hut, the water was all gone, slipped through. Um, so he did a couple of times, then came back and said, this is not happening. So he asked him to try a couple more times. He did. So after that, he came back again. He said, like, I tried. What you have asked me to do, I can't. So he said, like, look at this bowl now. Is it, what is, he said, like, it's now far, it's so much cleaner now. And he said, so that's what the practice does. It's, uh, you know, uh, you to receive and store what you receive through the practice. You need maybe a different kind of bowl, which is not, which doesn't let what you're receiving slip away. So even in the practice, what you receive, if there is no mechanism to somehow not just soak it up, but also to store it. And we had this video we watched a couple of sessions ago. The practice we do is about receiving the energy. So we need to align or orient ourselves to the source, and from the source you receive the energy. So there needs to be a connection, however subtle or abstract it is, but there needs to be a connection. And then absorption, or the ability to store, like a solar cell would get the energy from the sun and receive it, concentrate it, store it, and then it can be utilized. So um, so that's basically what we'll do now. So this practice, is the source could be of your own choice. But essentially, you need to think of, uh, a source of this transcendental energy, which you cannot fathom, which transcends the world. So, an enormous, cosmic, positive, uplifting source of energy in form of light, conscious source of light, and that consciousness in form of light is entering your heart. So this light is entering your heart, enlightening your heart, and then light is distributing throughout your body, and you're becoming completely and totally illuminated with this light. So for that, one, you need to orient you towards the source. You need to focus, so concentrate. To do that, you need to be inward oriented. This is inner satsang or antarik satsang, which is inward orientation is key. And to do that, eyes lightly closed so that the sensory input doesn't distract. Sit in a relaxed and still posture, because every time the body moves, your mind moves with it. So eyes lightly closed, still and relaxed posture. And now think it's upasana. Upasana is like sitting in front. So you're basically right here, right now, in front of this enormous source of energy. And that energy is entering your heart, distributing throughout your body, and you are becoming that light. So you are merging with it. The yoga is nothing but a union with the source, with the energy. Um, you know, so essentially, this light is entering your heart, distributing throughout the body. You're becoming the light. Now, mind wanders away. So there is no action, there is no activity. You have to just focus and concentrate on this thought and this thought alone. When mind wanders away, which it will, just bring it back to this thought of observing this transcendental energy in form of light that's entering your heart and distributing throughout your body, and you're becoming totally and completely immersed in it. So we'll start with music. Music helps the concentration, and then music fades away, and you go deep into silent meditation on this light. And then we transition out with music again. Let's start now. So happy Saturday. Glad that we are here. Glad that we are here in Satsang. Um, so before I open up for comments, questions, and uh, any other thing we want to share with each other, I want to continue with the Zen stories. So there was this one which really was pretty remarkable. Um, so it, talks about Gudo. He was at that you know time emperor's teacher, and he, he used to um, continue to travel uh, and share his knowledge with others. And so one day he was going through a village, and it started pouring. He got very drenched, and so suddenly he saw there was some uh, shop where he could buy some dry clothes and sandal. And so he went there. The lady saw that he was totally drenched and it was kind of late. So, the shopkeeper said you could stay over and continue your journey next day. So he came in, saw the family, and everybody in the family, the kids, uh, you know, he saw there was some kind of gloom. They were very sad. And so he asked, and and then the lady said that her husband is a drunkard, he's a gambler. So he gambles. When he loses, he drinks, and then when he wins, he drinks, and he comes back, and he is very abusive, and um, so on and so forth. So he said, "Okay, I'll stay over and I'll talk to him." Um, so, but why don't you get me some, uh, you know, uh, good wine and some good food? So when the husband came back, um, you know, uh, so he, Gudo met him, and so he was kind of starting his rant, but he said, "Come, I have some good wine, and I have some nice food for you." So okay, so he drank further, then he collapsed, slept off, and Gudo was meditating. So when uh, this guy woke up, he saw Gudo was still meditating, and so he had forgotten what happened last night, and so he asked him like, "Okay, so who are you?" He said, "I'm Gudo from Kyoto, and I'm going to Edo." And then this person realized that he is the emperor's teacher. In India, they're called Rajgurus, or the king's guru. Um, so then he profusely apologized. He said like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Um, and then, Gudo said that that's all right, but life is very short. If you continue to gamble and drink, you won't be able to accomplish anything else, and your life would be a total waste. And he's like, and probably a lot of people had told him that, but this time something, you know, kind of just awakened him. And again, he said, yes, I totally, totally get it. I would do my best to do better from here. So then Gudo said byes to the family, but this man said, no, I would like to carry your stuff with you. I'll go with you. Says, okay. So they went a few miles and Gudo said, okay, now you could return. I said, no, maybe just a little more. They went a few more miles and, you know, uh, after that, he said, like, I would, so Gudo said, like, you know, you could return now. He said, no, I would just go a little more. And, you know, um, so basically, after some time, Gudo said, like, would you return now? He said, no, I'm going to follow you for the rest of my life. So the modern Zen teachers in Japan spring from the lineage of a famous master who was the successor of Gudo. His name was Munan. And what that means is the man who never turned back. So, well, that was the story I read this morning. Thought I'll share it. Munan. All right, it's your time now. So Liz, Steve, actually, I ask people, particularly nobody wants to shake off the absorption of the meditative energy, I guess.
Happy Saturday, everyone. I'll chime in a little bit. I had a great meditation as always. Thank you. It's sort of like my anchor every week, this meditation community and time together. I really enjoyed the stories. The one I think that resonated with me today, all of them did, but the one that was like really clarifying for me in terms of the message was the bowl, the dirty bowl and the milk. You know, because that makes sense, right? Like if you're all gummed up with, you know, wasteful, I guess, thoughts, it's gonna be hard to receive the pure. So you have to work on cleaning up. I mean, that really like was very, very illustrative for me. The most effective story for me to understand that point. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, short and sweet, right? It's just and it kind of you know, it's story of our lives too. In a way.
That's true. Yeah. It's hard to like implement that, the cleaning up, but it's necessary. That's true.
So true. So, and just to, you know, so Ashita, how was the meditation today? Because I'm picking on her because we had a long discussion, and then I heard there was a longer discussion afterwards. when there was an in-person satsang in Connecticut.
Yes. Hi, namaste. Yeah, I had a lot to think about after we spoke.
That was interesting, very, very interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like I was asking the question that every beginner sort of has when they're really starting out and they're freshly new and they don't really understand what this is yet. But
that's what you would think.
that's what I would think.
Because most of the time, meditation is one thing, is like, I think age, beginner, advanced. I mean, I don't know. It's like if we were a boat, we have so many leaking holes. Big, small. There's keeping what we have. Keeping afloat is not an easy thing in life, and it is because there's so much to unlearn, there's so much to learn, there's so much of what we were talking about, like in the bowl is dirty and we want the purest milk in there, but hey, so if milk was the transcendental energy, how much can we receive? Can we receive really? How do we imbibe? How do we embody? How do we, store for the rainy day? All that fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're always learning. Life is obviously a constant journey of learning and unlearning. But yeah, this story and everything we talked about, I felt like it sort of just pushed me to think about this as a sort of like opening to cleanse the dirt that's already there. I kind of have to be open to the transcendental energy and to the milk and to the light, because if I'm already so closed off to it, obviously it's not going to enter. Yeah, so I think that's what I'm trying to do right now, is just sometimes stop trying and just try to let
let go.
Let it go.
Yeah, I think any effort that we are making in trying to meditate, I think, is just a sign of something that we need to let go, because it ought to be effortless. Yeah, good stuff. Keep at it.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So any other comments, questions, thoughts? Hey, Steve. So video is on, means Steve wants, Steve is on.
Yeah, I just there's a lot going through my head right now. I feel like I don't want to delve far down into politics, but after the election, I felt like our country entered this kind of dystopian state, or maybe it's been moving that way anyways, and just trying to wrap my head around some of the things that I'm seeing, and the energy I'm sensing, and I think I'm going to need to meditate even more to help me navigate some of that. But there was an article that David Brooks from the New York Times published yesterday, which seemed to make a lot of sense to me. And he talked about young men with high school diplomas, and what's happening to to them compared to young men who are attaining an undergraduate level education. And he said that they're living 8 years shorter. He said that they are typically more inclined to be exposed to opioid addiction.
Yeah.
So there's something else that really stood out to me, but I just get I get this sense that there's this male anger right now, which I don't think is healthy for our country or society or the world in general. And I've been reading this book, The Anxious Generation, and it talks about what's happened with young men in our country. And in 1972, males were earning about 60% of the undergraduate degrees, and then as more opportunities came for women, that leveled out. So by about the time I would have completed my undergraduate studies, women were getting just as many undergraduate degrees as men, and now that trend is 60-40 in terms of women in this country earning undergraduate degrees compared to men. And what I witness in school is that boys are not reading at the same level. I almost want to say that they're getting run over academically, and I feel like what we're seeing politically with a lot of the demagoguery, with the misogyny, with the anti-immigrant rhetoric, those types of things, I feel that it's a byproduct of our society failing to properly educate young men, and I don't know exactly how to navigate that or help that, but it concerns me.
So I think what I have learned is that, first ground yourself, center yourself, balance yourself, elevate yourself, right? And then help others, right? The way I look at is, what is happening in terms of somewhere I always feel that there is a multiplication of negativity, be any country, be any culture, because typically slipping and sliding is human nature. It's like mind would very easily slip and slide downwards. So individually, as a community, as a country, how do we elevate ourselves? That is vertical, progress, which takes effort. And the more you disconnect from faith, devotion, strength of any kind, so your inability to imbibe energy that is positive and uplifting, and so I think, even you look at any country, be it Zen, be it India, be it Europe, be it US, the downward inclines are always on the rise, always on the rise. This is a phenomena which you go to any any time in history, and sometimes it's so stark that I feel the human race in general has this handicap of not learning from past mistakes. And that's true. And what is the reason? The reason is our own mind, right? You give the best possible system, be it democracy, be it, communism, because all these, when you look at the book, when you look at the basic foundational culture, even in Indian like yogic philosophy, what it was supposed to do, even science, what it was supposed to do versus where we took it. How does that happen? Through our own doing, through our minds. So keeping ourselves positive and focused and ethical, talking is one thing, doing is completely another. Why? Because we just one way or the other game the system. And this gaming the system has been going on and on and on. And the classic example for good, bad, or ugly reason is if you watch The Lord of the Rings, right? First, second, third, the negative forces in the first one were limited. Then they multiplied in the second one. In the third one, it was like just enormous. Still, the message there is that however limited it appears the positive side is, they still win. You know, I am a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
The thing is that when Maharishi Patanjali, when he was doing his yogic research, what he found was there was a very fast moving negative energy which within us. And then there is very slow, subtle, slowly moving upwards positive energy. Balancing that is yoga. Right? Easier said than done. Because, hey, I do asanas and pranayams, my yoga is done. No. That was not even the beginning. Right? That's not even the beginning. It's not about that. That's the foundation for mental resilience or mental capabilities, and then further up. It's an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah. I like the analogy of the teacup overflowing because it's what you learn after you know it all that really matters. So
unbelievable. It's like see, and one of the things that you actually are talking about is like being open to new ideas and being open to things that we need to learn itself. So once your cup is full, you're like, I'm done, right? I believe in this. And that's what causes all the ripple effects.
Can I comment on this topic? It's definitely relevant to me as well. I share the sentiment that was expressed by Steve just now. Worried also, to be honest. And I think meditation is one way to cope. It's a coping mechanism, I think, for what is inevitably change. Change is inevitable at this time. But I think, I think meditation is a great way to, you may not be able to sit down and think of all the solutions, but through meditation, because you're clearing your mind, I honestly believe through meditation, because you're clearing your mind and you're elevating your spiritual state, thoughts will come, ideas will come, resolutions will come, so that you're ready to receive those and implement them in your work or in society. I think you have to try, like at this point, we have to trust the process of meditation and the benefits, because I think that's one way we're going to receive helpful knowledge. because we're just right now we're focused and we're just disturbed, and it's not going to lead to like positive results. But if we, as we said, empty the mind and allow like the spiritual awareness and heightened state to come into focus, those thoughts will come. I actually believe that they will. So that's one. Two, I think you're already, and this is just my comment to Steve, I think you're already like figuring out solutions by understanding the root of the problem, which is that there's a certain sector of the population that feels left out. And that is so important to acknowledge, is to acknowledge like what the root of the problem is. So in conjunction with meditation and being informed and not letting, you know, I was struggling these last weeks. I'm being very blunt, which, you know, I'm being a little vulnerable and to the point of I'm nervous about being so forthright about my opinions. But I was really, I was disturbed. I'm disturbed, and it started to get to me actually, and that's not helpful actually.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to take a step back and just to see things objectively as much as I can, because if I allow myself to get wrapped up in the drama, and it's not going to be helpful at all. It's actually going to deplete my energy. I found that it depleted my energy and made me unhealthy. So I'm trying to figure out a coping mechanism to step back and kind of just like view things objectively, and to, you know, again, trust the meditation process, whatever, you know, and then whatever thoughts come, you know, help me to cope with that. And but I share your sentiment, but I do think meditation is going to be a really important practice these next few years, not only because of what we're seeing, but because we're going to see cultural major shifts. I mean, there's going to be major changes. I think they're already in play, and they're going to be accelerated now. And just the last point I want to say is, Sanjeev, I'm so glad you mentioned Lord of the Rings, because like I've always loved that trilogy, and now I understand like the part of the reason why I loved it was because it did have a spiritual message.
Yes.
That's so true. Yeah, I didn't realize it at the time. I was quite young, but yes, it's a great trilogy, probably to return to now.
Yeah. Yeah, so true, because you know the multiplier factor that was there was stunning. It was just like, so how would you win this battle? But you know, that's the same thing with, we talked about Satraj and Tham, which is the positive, the negative, and then this whole action oriented change. And Sat is slow moving and very subtle, but I'm telling you, the positive in every country, every culture, the positive does not go away. And that's why the changes continue to happen. So, you know, so wow. Well, that was a good session today. So Omkar just mentioned identity will always create a conflict, and meditation is to go beyond an identity. I can't control anything but the current moment, and that's what I try to focus on, to be aware of myself, and when I keep failing and get carried away by thoughts. So this whole identity, and so, you know, I think yesterday, Bhanu and Rajat were there in different conversations, but the conversation was about surrender, which the word surrender has not a very positive connotation. But when I look at, you know, I merge with a bigger entity, the transcendental energy, and become that bigger entity. So going from limited to limitless, going from, you know, being isolated unit to a very integral universe, then these things matter less, I guess. But hopefully we will see, if you look at the nature, it's ups and downs and all that, but there is this enormity and a system to this madness. If we go beyond that, we transcend this world, then the whole thought process evolves to a next level. So on that note, I think we'll continue the conversation, I guess. So, but practice. Let's stay connected with the positive. I think that's the essence of it all. Yeah. So, Steve rightly said, remain full of hope. Truth, wisdom will always be worthy pursuits. Absolutely. So, bye, Camilla. And
Bye-bye.
Paula, Steve, Maimaji, Ajita, AC, Luz, Renuji, Arvindji, Bhanu, Poonamji, Geeta, Rajat. Namaskar and bye, and be with, love, light, and peace. Yep.
Namaskar.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
प्रणाम भैया सभी को प्रणाम
Namaskar.
नमस्कार भैया
Namaskar.
प्रणाम भैया सबको प्रणाम
Namaskar.
प्रणाम भैया आप सबको प्रणाम
Namaskar. Renuji.
जी प्रणाम भैया सभी को प्रणाम